Hi guys, and a very warm welcome back to the new Sandling Junction build. And today's video, I've got a bit of an upgrade story relating to this laser engraver behind me. So let's roll that intro and let's see what it's all about. Okay guys, and welcome back. And as I said just now, I am going to be talking about lasers in this video. In particular, the Creality Falcon 2 Pro. Now, many of you who follow my channel would have seen me do a review on this particular model a couple of months or so back. Creality reached out to me, offered me this machine free of charge to do a half-hour or so video on it, and that's what I did. But it was an honest review. And I was so stoked with this machine. I think it was absolutely a game changer in terms of safety features. This all housing over the top so that you got rid of all the smoke, the smells out the way out of a window, and it wasn't a problem. And it was just such a nice, clean, tidy unit. So yeah, I can't extol the virtues of this particular one enough. And some of you from that video and other videos online about this will have gone out maybe and bought one yourselves. Now, I hope you have, because I honestly feel that a laser engraving machine of some description is really an essential piece of kit in the railway modelers world, in the arsenal of tools and gadgets that we collect as modelers. And I don't know if any of you are like me, but you know, I've got so many tools to do bits and pieces with, and I see something else come out and I think, can I, should I, shouldn't I? And I do, but it's such a benefit to get it, and so it's there if I ever need it, sort of thing. And I think that the laser engraver, as much as a 3D printer, is part or fits into that very, very well. And I feel that I started off with an open cage laser, which was great. I just wanted the experience of engraving, and that gave me that little introduction. But when Creality reached out and said, do you want a fully enclosed one? I said, yes, please. Of course I did, because it meant to say that I can have it in my environment. You will notice that I'm in my studio, and the environment to me as a painter is extremely important. And I can't have it full of smoke, full of smells and obnoxious things that are going on because I'm using a laser engraver. It has to be a really clean and nice environment. And this ticked all of those bills. So when Creality reached out to me a couple of weeks back and said, would you like to have a 40-watt laser head instead of the 22-watt and replace it in your machine and have a go with it? I said, yes, please. All they wanted was a little bit of a review on it, and that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to put it in and show you how it's so simple to change. That's point one. And secondly, when I first got this one and the 22-watt head that was in it, I did a whole load of different burn and engrave tests on different materials that I'm using, from 1 through to laser board 1mm and 2mm Medite MDF, and up to different pieces of 3.6 ply. Now, I don't think that I need to go any deeper than that or heavier than that, but I have those options. So I'm going to be doing a few tests again once I've installed this 40-watt laser head, and see what the differences are, see what the burn differences are, compare them, and then like I did with that little platform I designed myself. And I've got to say, I'm still really cock-a-hoot the fact that I actually managed to design something off my own back without relying on somebody else. I really am still chuffed with that. So I'm going to design something else very quick, very simple, I hope, and then burn that on the 40-watt and just see what the differences are and see how much more beneficial that head is over and above the 22-watt. What I will say is that really good design is that the 40-watt head, if you bought one, gives you two options, because you can backpedal at any point. If you only want the finer curved burn and slower burn and more detailed burn of the 22-watt laser head, you've just got to press a button and it reverts itself, and you can have it on normal and you can burn thicker, faster material. So I'm looking forward to that, and let's see how it all turns out. Okay everybody, here's the laser. Let's get underway and let's swap this laser head over. Now here is the 22 watt that this particular unit came with, and you can buy this in several versions now. You can buy it as it is here with a 22 watt laser head. You can also buy it with the 40 watt laser head. You can even buy it now with a grand 60 watt laser head if you feel the need to go that big. But this is the one that Creality have just sent me, which is the laser module for the Creality Falcon 2. Now the units, the heads, the laser, the 22, the 40 and the 60 have been available some time with the older Creality open frame system on the original Falcon 2. But it's also the same one that's used on the Falcon 2 Pro with the enclosure. So this is what they've sent me. Nicely packaged, as always it is. The first thing, you've got the safety goggles, which I've already got some, of course. There is the module, much larger than the 22 watt, of course. And also to power it, there is a much larger power pack. So let's just put that out to one side. Let's put this out of the box. And there is nothing else to my knowledge in the packet. Now, that was to be expected, but what I will say is that if, however, you bought this already fitted with a 40 watt laser module and not the 22, you would also get a 1.6 laser module head in addition to the 40 watt. You get two basically with that kit. I haven't got that small one because they've just sent me this particular head as an upgrade, but indeed, if you bought it new, you would actually end up with two laser module heads, the 40 watt, which also doubles as a 22, and also the 1.6 laser head module as well. Anyway, enough of that. Let's go about sorting this out, and we're going to change this like so. You can see the connectivity, which is going to run through to here. So I undo one and replace it with the other. Hopefully quite a simple operation, he says. But everything that Creality does comes so well packaged, gotta say. So there is the laser head beam, and you can see clearly on here that you've got precise and you've got normal. Now the thing with that is that normal is the full 40 watt capability, and the precise will revert it back down to the 22 watt. And you can see if I put them side by side, they are a little bigger in size, but they will do the same job. Now what I'm going to do first and foremost is take the air assist out. If I can wiggle it out, that's it. So the air assist will sit there. I've now got to trace this back through to here and literally just release this out. There we are. So lifting this away from there, this one, and taking that little bit of tape or Velcro tape off. There we are. So now we've got to take that out from there. I'm going to put that back on the next part in a moment. Let's put the cover, protected cover, over on the air assist on that. Simply now it's a case of undoing these two screws and lifting off the old laser. Now you can see how dirty this one has got over the time of using it, and a good clean out every so often of that will be a lifesaver for your laser head anyway. Let's just put that to one side. Let's just put this one in its place. I will do some adjustments on this at some point, but what I want to do is just put these back in place. So feeding this cable back in is fairly simple. Let's just pull that through, making sure I've got that in the right place. There, done. It was that simple to do. All right, let's just simply take that cover off here, put that onto there, push that in place. Okay, that's good. I'm happy with that. Make sure I can't get it any further. And let me just put these two sets of cables together. Okay, so that's the power adapter for the 22 watt laser module, and this one is the power adapter for the much larger 40 watt. Now, as you can hear, the air is on and it's just testing, and then it goes off once it's done its little setup, and it goes on automatic, and you can tell here that it's done. The air assist is flashing. That will engage, of course, like the 22 watt laser did. Once it's operational, once it's doing a burn, this will engage again, that will come on, and this will turn green. Okay, so you can see the two blue lights clearly illuminating. The back one says precise, which would indicate a 22 watt module, and the normal is the 40 watt version. So you have them both there. So if you hold this button down, you will take the 40 watt offline, and you are reverting the laser head just to the single beamed 22 watt version. Simply press it again and you return the module to full strength and what is called normal. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set this whole thing up, and with a view to doing a few tests on different materials and burn tests, and just see how it reacts compared to the old ones I did on the 22 watt. Okay, so what's cutting now is the first of the test pieces. Now this is exactly the same setup as the 22 watt, and so what I'm doing here is, this is the original one, if it focused correctly, which was 3mm or thereabouts MDF, Medite MDF, and I set the parameters from 100 power to 1000, and the speed from 100 to 1000, and the power from 40 to 100%. And you can see how the cut went for that 22 watt laser equivalent. So what I'm doing now is doing exactly the same burn test and seeing how the new laser at full power on the 40 watt is going to do. I'm sure it's going to work quicker, but at the same time it's going to burn a whole heap more of these squares out than on the 22 watts. So let's just see how it performs. Okay, so if I put the two together, as you can see, both of these are for 3mm, but one is cut on the 40 watt laser, one is cut on the 22 watt laser. You can clearly see from this little demonstration that the burn power of that 40 watt laser compared to the 22 watt laser is both fast and more superior on one pass. So the thing is that you're going to save time with the 40 watt laser, and you've got more permutations on the burn. Okay everybody, I thought I'd just pause there for a moment in all the testing that I'm doing just to show you this one. This is the first of the engraved tests that I've actually created. Now, because it's 40 watt, not 22 watt, I felt that I would increase the speed ramps on here. So instead of being 12,000, I put it to 18, and down here I raised it up as well. I kept the power the same across here, but quite clearly, if you see my finger through the back here, how aggressive that 40 watt is down in this lower portion here. So clearly way too low on the speed, because it gives it too much time to burn through these areas. So what I'm going to do is another test. I'm going to raise this to about 24,000, and I'm going to raise this one accordingly as well, keep the power the same, and hopefully we get a different set of results. The engraving on here should be exactly the same as the engraving on there, and I think it is. I mean, the wood color is lighter on the 3mm over the 2mm Medite, but that is the only difference in the whole thing. The actual engraving quality between the two sizes or depths, 2mm and 3mm, is pretty much the same. The differences, however, change here, where you've got a setup where you had the old, let's go to there, this is the old 2mm cut, and this is the 40 mil cut, or 40 watt cut, sorry, and you can see how much more area is cut away easily with the 40 mil. And equally on the 3 mil, you've got the 40 mil and you've got the 22, I keep saying mil, 40 watt, 22 watt, and you can see how much more material is cut away on the 40 watt laser than over the 22. What I also did, just to make sure that there was no differences, is I cut this one. This is using the 22 watt within the 40 watt laser head, and it is identical as you would expect, but it's identical to the original 22 watt head. So I can pretty much guarantee that the quality of the 40 watt laser with the built-in 22 watt option is pretty good going, because as I say, using the 22 watts I've done, there is no difference between that and this one, and this is the 40 watt option. So I think all in all, I'm happy with the outcome of the tests, and I'm going to now try out some heavier timber just to see how the 40 watt really copes with that. There's actually more boards up here full of tryouts that just didn't work. Yes, this one did, but the result of this was so much charring inside that some of the shape had disappeared. So I had to reach out to a very good friend of mine, James from Bexhill West, many of you will know, and he is pretty much a guru with anything technical, I've got to say. And you remember how he built the very long and beautiful engine shift for Sandling Junction, which I will add is going to be used in the new Sandling Junction build. James said to me what he does is an awful lot of testing. Whenever he gets a machine in, he does tons and tons of testing, and that is exactly what I've been doing on this board here. Now this is a half inch or 12mm piece of ply, no different to the one that I've just shown you, and you'll see tons of discs that are simple cut discs, and all I've done is done 3, read the stats that I've dialed in for them, checked how good or bad they were, and gone over and over. And these are the more successful ones here. They're all numbered and numbered against. You can see where the holes are. I've put numbers so that I can match them up. Hi everyone, and a warm welcome back. Now earlier in this video you saw me doing different tests and cuts and engravings using this lovely 40 watt laser head on 2 and 3mm MDF. Now I then wanted to try out some of the claims that this can cut up to 15mm of ply in one single pass. Now I have to say that I didn't find that was accurate in my own endeavors, and I will tell you why. Because it's not necessarily that engraving head, it's down to the material and nothing more. I tried to cut, as a little bit of footage will show you in one part here or there, I was trying to cut different letters and it wasn't working, and I then sat down and did a whole rows of systematic circles with different settings to try and see where I was going wrong. I couldn't work it out, and as much as I tried, 12mm was cutting, and sort of 900 2 passes at 70. Every one of these is marked, and so I know exactly how good or how bad the cut was. And if it was too slow or too whatever, you got a lot of charring on the side, which was not good. And so, having pretty much exhausted that and worked out what wasn't working, and to a point where I could get it to work, I felt that let's do the same thing with fewer passes on 9mm. And I had troubles there too. I could not cut this material in one pass. Now I reached out to the company and I talked to their tech, and they're a really nice company to deal with, and with all the help that I got, it really is down to the material. Now in certain countries plywood is made differently, and in this country we use a lot of glues, and it just depends on the quality of the wood and the the sort of different layers and the types of glue used, how volatile that when this is burning, if you remember early on it was tripping off the fire alarm a few times. It's because it just isn't great timber. This is just commercial grade, everyday as it were, from the lumber or the timber merchants plywood. There's nothing special about it. It's not high quality plywood, and it's not laser grade plywood, so it does have issues. And if you go ahead and use it, then you're going to have to accept that you can't burn this in one pass. It just won't do it. It will do all sorts of horrible things. But I do know and have seen some references from the company to describe their settings using 100 speed, 100% power to cut through certain size materials in one pass. So if you're in England and if you're buying one of these, based on what I've been saying and what other people have been saying in your research, and I fully recommend, I'm not knocking away from getting one of these, one of the Crealities at all, and certainly I would go for the 40 watt if I could manage to get one, because as a railway modeler I'm not going to be using this 1/2 inch board so much, or this 9mm board so much. There may be times when you want to do a little bit of a layout build where you want a little bit of a platform or something where you want to cut a precise mark into something like this, but moreover or not, I would steer away from plywood as a means to do that, and I would go for Medi MDF. Now I've only found Medi MDF up to 9mm, and I've got some of that in a box over there which I've just ordered especially to try out a few things, just to see how many passes that may need to cut through as well. Hopefully not as many as these did, but we shall see. I'll give it a try and see what happens. So in the meantime, I am now going to put this to one side. This is fantastic reference for me in the future, and it was a suggestion by James from Bexhill West. Whether he meant do it quite like this, I don't know, but what James does or has done in previous times is he does tons of tests, and he tries to work out exactly what the best parts and the worst parts of any laser engraver, including the quality of the engraving head. And recently James has used a 60 watt from Creality and proven it to be a fantastic unit, and that always has the 40 and the 22 watt built into that 60 watt laser head. Now one thing I will say, earlier I did talk about the quality of the engraving being very, very similar to 22 watt on the different materials, but you've got to bear in mind that with a 40 watt laser head, the actual beam, the actual light beam, is greater than that of 22. I think you'll find it's like 2 streams of light coming into one, makes it slightly wider, and indeed a 60 watt would be even wider still. So when you come to engrave something, whether it's brickwork into something or stonework into something, then a 22 watt engraving will be finer than a 40 watt. If you want a deep wide beam cut, if you want your engraving to sort of show much broader marks, then the 40 watt would be ideal as well. So both will yield good results, and I think that the versatility of having a 40 watt and a 22 watt built into it is absolutely fantastic. Just showing you a quick test setup. So quite simply, I'm going to go for a circle as I did in previous tests, hold down the shift key and simply draw out a circle. Now I've got this locked up here, and I want to make my circle just 25 mil. All right, so now then, here over on this side is the really important part, because what I want to do is set each of these squares up to have different speeds and different powers as the program or as the burn commences. So the first layer here is going to remain on black. Now don't worry about what it says over here. Everything's going to be set to line. Let's go for the next one, and we're going to make this one. We're going to make this one blue. So it's going to put that on that color. That's it. Okay, so you can see here we've got all of our things set up. Line up the material with the slat to know that you're pretty square in there, and it's good to go. Let's just overlay, update, or update the overlay. There, we've got plenty of room. All our cuts are on the material there, and we can frame it one more time if you want to make sure. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to get that going. Everything is kicking in, as you can see, and I'll come back with the outcome. Let's get on. Right. Let's just see what the outcomes were. Let's just move this back out of the way. Okay. If I don't drop this lot now, we're good to go. So basically I'm saying that these four burn through as they should, but although they appear to be good, you can see how much overburn is on there, and it has completely disfigured the shape. That's no longer a circle there. It is where it starts, but on this side it's not. Here, very much the same, probably even worse. Now this is the good thing about testing, because by doing so you can turn around and say, well, next time I want to do a cut through 9mm MDF like this, I know not to use any of those because it will destroy the outcome. However, all of these work very, very well. Here, where we've got the 1000 burn and others, there's a bit of burning colour around the top, but these ones, look at these ones, these four here in particular, 250 at 80 one pass, 250 100 one pass, 300 100 one pass, and 100 even at 70 power one pass. Each of those cut through in one pass on such a low parameter. Now if I was using some good quality plywood at 12mm, or indeed 12mm Medite MDF, I reckon that any of these ones at 100 power going between 100 and 150 speed, they would have burned through that thicker material without a problem. Okay, so I really wouldn't have any hesitation to support the claims from Creality that this head, this 40-watt head, can indeed burn through a 50mm piece, providing the material that you're using is good quality laser grade material. If you were using, such as I was, that cheap plywood, it's got so many other problems associated with its build, with its quality and manufacture, that it will not burn as you would want it to. It will burn it, but it won't do a great job, and it will take several passes to go through. But here I have proven that a good quality MDF 9mm, it doesn't need to throw every brick and rock and stick and stone at it to make it do it. It does it with reasonable ease at these speeds and these powers in one pass without destroying it. Here, if you were to use these on thicker material, I don't think it would have any problem either. So in conclusion, I've got to say, Creality, you're as good as your word. I feel that you can cut through larger or thicker material in one pass, providing the material you're using is of good quality to start with. MDF, which is Medite, is laser safe, good quality and well worth using in all sizes from 2mm up through to 9mm. Plywood, I haven't found a source yet for 9 and 12mm laser safe, but you can get thinner materials to use in the same way. And yeah, I gotta say, it's a great piece of kit, and I would not hesitate for anybody to go out and buy a 40-watt laser head with a 22-watt inside it, so that you can run between the two as your job needs. So I wanted or need to make a baseboard and a template for that lovely engine shed that James from Bexhill West kindly built me a few years ago during lockdown, and you've all seen it on the old Sandling Junction, and it's sitting on the top waiting to be installed on the new Sandling Junction. Now what I needed to do is to make a base for it and also a template. Underneath the engine shed itself is a lot of apparatus electrically and components with the pits, lighting and everything else that James fitted up for me way back when we first put it on Sandling. And back then we had a lot of trouble trying to cut the holes out to house it so that they slotted in. We got there eventually, but it was a bit of messing around, and the whole of the engine shed was just sitting on the baseboard, and it fitted basically where it touched because there was so much had to be cut away underneath. Now this time round I felt that it would be good to do two things. One, to make a baseboard that was larger than the engine shed and the floor area itself, and two, to make a template that before it becomes the baseboard can be used to perfectly place and align exactly where I want the engine shed and scribe the lines through using these blue areas here. These areas have all got to be cut out of the baseboard, and once they're cut out they will give me a perfect alignment for the troughs that are the working pits that I can describe here. You can just see that little line there, and then the gap between the darker blue and the light blue on each side is the area taken up by all the wiring as it goes down the channel. This area here is the other end of the engine shed, and it will be cut in two parts because the engine shed is 667mm long, and I only have material that is 360mm wide or square. So essentially, when the track comes into the engine shed entrance on 3mm cork roadbed, then it will be a perfect size for this, and then it will come straight in on the rail, and it will end up where it needs to be. Okay, so this is James's lovely engine shed upside down, and you can see everything that's going on underneath, so you can now understand why I need this template. So I'm just going to sit this in place, and hopefully I haven't made any boo-boos. We shall see. So there's that. That fits up snugly. This piece goes in here and is all very, very good. I'm happy with all the way that that's looking. That's all good. Now, one problem here. I forgot these discs. There. I thought I got it worked out enough, but unfortunately I haven't. So what I'm going to go and do is I think everything else is fine. I might make an adjustment for that step there to bring it in line with this one, so it's a nice flush line. And I am just going to put in just a basic small curve, something like that. Somewhere in the middle, two little cutouts, and that will just be sufficient to allow this to become the base that I want it to be. I'll catch you all in the next video, and if you are thinking about getting one of these, whether it's a 22 watt, a 40 watt, or indeed blowing your budget on a big 60 watt version with all three of the others incorporated in that, then there will be a link in my description where you can save a few pennies and get it on offer. And yeah, I hope you do, because to me, I've got so many ideas about this that I'm looking forward to doing. and I can have so many devices and things that I can create both in my art and my railway, and indeed for my little workshop out the back there where I've got to design things for other uses. And that brings me to the last point on here, that the next video I do with this, I've got to create some more tool storage up in the model room. So join me for that one in due course. The next video will probably be episode 12, and that's been a bit of fun making. That one's called Track Trauma. So yeah, look out for that one in due course in a week or so. Take care everybody. Bye bye for now.